Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes. Welcome again, everybody, to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights about leadership and teams. I'm excited to welcome our guest today. He is all the way from Fleet, England, and this is Paul Morton, and he is the CEO of the Practical Leadership Academy. Make sure I get that right. Practical Leadership Academy. He's also an executive for hire, so he does some fractional work. Paul, thank you so much for taking time all the way across the ocean there to join us on the podcast. I'm excited to talk with you today. What would you like the audience to know about Practical Leadership Academy?
Well, thank you, Sean. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here with you. The Practical Leadership Academy is focused on helping sales leaders understand what sort of team they're actually leading and how to do it, and where that mismatch can be found and how to fix it.
Oh, that's good. Especially in the sales world, that can be really tricky sometimes. So it's good work that you're doing there. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with our questions. Now, again, Paul, you've experienced this either by observation or direct experience, but sometimes teams or employees will kind of fall into a little bit of a lull. How can leaders infuse energy into their teams?
Well, I deal mostly with sales teams, and they're called extra dependent teams. People confuse teams with teams, as you do. A sales team is a very similar team to a team of priests, or a team of teachers, or a team of people who are they're not different. They're all similar. They're doing the same thing. And most managers try to energize teams that are similar in task, like they're running a choir, when in reality, they're leading a group of soloists. And the challenge is this, is that sales teams are not interdependent, but they're parallel teams. They're high output individuals, and they're running next to each other. So if you try to pump energy into the team, it just diffuses. So the better move is to then energize through clarity. And you energize through setting tight expectations on the outcomes that you want. Let them know what good looks like. Then you give them the freedom. You make it loose around the process. So they give them autonomy. You give them room for ownership and judgment. And then you close the loop tightly again with accountability. And that rhythm, that tight, loose, tight, that resets energy, because people want to run when the path is clear. They want to run when where they're going and what they're doing is meaningful, and they have autonomy to do it.
I really like that. It sounds like a much more individualized approach that seems more appropriate for that setting. Is that an accurate interpretation of what I heard?
It is. A sales team is a group of individuals. It's not a team like a football team. It's a team like you've got a group of golfers, each on their own pitch, each on their own, going their own journey. So your job as a leader is to perfect the swing, is to give them the right balls, is to make sure that they learn from each other.
Oh, I like that. Great analogy. Great analogy. Both of those. I like the choir versus soloist type analogy, as well as those sports analogies. That's great. All right. Question number 2. How do you promote, or any leader for that matter, how do you promote learning in your company?
Well, again, let's stick with the sales team metaphor here, because it is my bread and butter. It's what I spend most of my time with. It's where I think people don't recognize it is the most visible, most highly measured, and most highly pressured organization in the company. There are very few parts of any organization that if you don't meet your objectives in 2 quarters, you're done. Just like that. If you're a finance guy, or if you're in a legal team, or if you're in a product team and kind of things don't quite go right for a wee while, oh, that's all right. Well, how exactly are you measuring them? Salespeople are measured like microscopically. So how do you promote learning? It's the only way that they can survive and your business can survive, because nothing happens until something gets sold, right? So learning doesn't happen in presentations. It doesn't happen by broadcast. It happens in the moments of stuckness. And what we do is we teach managers, sales managers, who turn stuck moments into learning rituals. And that's not with motivational slogans on the wall, but it's with what I would call a who-do meeting. Okay? Now, salespeople are great team players, but the team that they play in is not the team of other salespeople. It's a team of customers and them and product people and engineers and whoever is in that chain. So salespeople are typically orchestrating something in that team, and they're trying to get somebody to do something. So we have a who-do meeting. That's a learning meeting, okay? Who are you trying to get to do what and what's stopping you get there. And that works because what happens is you've got this group of salespeople focusing on real challenges, and you have collective intelligence thinking together, even in those parallel roles, and it turns every problem into a teachable moment, and it's solved in public and it's learned in parallel.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah, the idea of kind of this practical learning in the moment, in the stuck moments. I really like that. That's a great new approach. That's something that's unique that I've not heard on the podcast from other leaders, but I like it. And it seems very appropriate for sales individuals that need to kind of have that little new
Mm.
moment of opportunity to learn when they're stuck. And I like that who do meetings as well. Who's going to do it? I think that's great. Very good. All right. Question number 3. Share one tip for effective delegation.
Well, the tip has got to be you've got to be super tight on the outcome, loose in the method, and tight on review. So that's the tight, loose, tight delegation model. And it works because if you're too loose up front, people waste time or they stall or they don't understand what you want. If you're too tight in process, what you're doing is you're crushing judgment, you're crushing creativity, you're crushing ownership. And if you get no follow-up, well, there's no learning and there's no accountability and you're not going to get what you want. So what you do is you say, this is the outcome I need. You own the how, you use your judgment. And we'll review it on Friday at 2 and on Monday at 3. Because what you then do is you turn the people you're working with into someone who is both trusted and challenged. So you're giving them the job to do. It's clear about what they have to do, when they have to deliver it, about how they do it. That's up to them and their judgment. And the TLT, the tight, loose, tight, that delegation does both those things.
I really like that. That's a great model. I like that you have the tight outcome, but you keep it loose on how exactly that gets there, that you're more focused on the outcome, but that you're effective in the whole process of delegating. That's a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. All right, question number 4, and this is going to go along perfectly with some of the other things that you've already been talking about. But as leaders, how can we most effectively communicate our purpose and our vision for the company to the team?
Well, I think that purpose is not something you paint on the wall. It's not my wife was working for a big IT company, and they had their values laminated around their necks on the keychains, and it's not laminated, it's lived, it's revealed in your standards, it's revealed in your rituals. And what we try to teach is that vision becomes real when it shapes the way that decisions get made. Okay, the values become real when they shape the way the decisions get made. That becomes a decision-making tool. And managers don't need slogans, right? They just need phrases. They need some scripts. They need to say, that is not how we show up here. Here is what looks good. Here is what good looks like. Here is how we perform on our team. So what you're trying to build is identity. You're trying to build identity, which is the middle part of the leadership reset, which is clarity, identity, and autonomy. Okay? So your clarity is you're pointing them in the right direction. Identity is where you're building the flag that we're going to fly. And autonomy is when you're handing over the map. And the identity is we're building the flag here. This is how good looks like on our team. When people feel part of something that's distinct, they show up differently. And that's vision in action.
I really like that. I've become very fond of the phrase values dictate decisions. And so when you were talking about it can't just be laminated, it's got to be lived. That was such a perfect phrase from my perspective, because it is really easy to put it on the wall or to put it on the name tag or whatever it is. And, that's good. That's better than not doing anything at all. But you're so right in that we've got to see how it shows up. We've got to see how it appears in our everyday working and being able to call it out, as you said. Hey, that's not quite how we do things. That's not our level of good, and to constantly be living it. I love that. That's a great phrase. Live it, don't laminate it. So let's go with that. All right. Our last question, Paul, tell us a little bit about your first job.
Oh, well, my first job was washing dishes in a French restaurant for, I think it was 75 pence an hour. Okay. And it was a challenging environment, and it lasted the grand total of 8 days before I said, no, I'm done. I did a lot of work in lots of different restaurants, and I think public sector here is public facing work here is core to pretty much everything I've ever done. everything that is of value to me, both in my service at home, my service in my community, my church, service as a servant leader. I think you've got the concepts of lots of different people trying to deliver lots of different things in lots of different contexts, but at the core, you are in service of somebody else. And it's a very selfish thing, is service, because if you serve well for purpose, you feel great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's very true. There's something very fulfilling about this, the idea of servant leadership, that you're always serving somebody. Even as a leader, you're still helping others to grow or progress, or even just to inspire them or motivate them, whatever it is. There's a lot there. I love that. That's great. Paul, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast today. How can people find you?
They can find me at the practical-leadership.academy website, or you can just Google Practical Leadership Academy and you'll find me. There is the Leadership That Sells podcast, which is on all the great podcast outlets. And then, of course, LinkedIn is your friend.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's where you and I met. So LinkedIn is a
Absolutely.
great place to be. So very good. All right, Paul, thank you again for being on the podcast. And also thanks to all of you who are tuning in every week as we release new episodes, whether they're the YouTube version, you get to watch us, or if you're just listening on any of the podcast platforms. Either way, we're glad that you're joining us to learn more about leadership and teams. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.